The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
This is John Silver, lead recruiter of the Dark Order, and you are listening to All Things Elite.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the 89th episode of All Things Elite, the show with a proclivity for positivity. And we are back from our break. We are back from our short little break that we took over the holidays. And this episode, of course, is going to be very important, very special. First of all, Floyd is not here because he is feeling under the weather, but we knew we had to get an episode out for this specific episode of Dynamite that we will be covering. So joining with me is the wonderful Jeremy Donovan of Social Suplex. How you doing, my man?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks so much for asking me to fill in for Floyd here. It's a very special episode we'll be talking about today.
Absolutely. Now, if you've been online, if you watched Dynamite this week, if you've been anywhere in terms of wrestling Twitter or anything, you will know the unfortunate news that came out, which was that Mr. Brodie Lee himself had passed away over the weekend, and they decided, it was decided and tweeted out by Tony Khan that the episode that was supposed to air this week was being scrapped and pushed back a week, and the entire episode was going to be a tribute show dedicated to Brodie Lee, which honestly, it just made a whole lot of sense. It really did, because it came out of completely nowhere. And if we can just real quickly get our thoughts on the whole situation. I mean, it's weird to say, I thought it was a joke. I really thought it was a joke. Like they were preparing one of those AEW, the being the elite funerals, whatnot, or what, the jokey stuff that they kind of do every once in a while. But when I actually read the statement and whatnot, and I completely floored and just unbelievably tragic. And of course, our thoughts truly go out to his family, who I can't imagine what they're going through this period of time. It's just the absolute worst. And I mean, it's just, it's absolutely crazy. But I mean, I'll just get real quickly, Jeremy, how did this take you? Because I feel like it was a complete shock for the entire wrestling community.
Yeah, I was absolutely shocked. Just devastating news. I couldn't believe it. It took me I'm still having a hard time wrapping my head around it. Brodie Lee's a guy that I've been watching for a very long time now. I saw him from the beginnings in his indie run and his time in Ring of Honor, which was the first place that I saw him. And, just watched him all the way through, gain at NXT, gain at WWE, and then also this latest run with AEW. And, he was only 41 years old, and there was no signs or hints, at least to the general public, that his health was declining or that he had gotten sick. And so when this just kind of hit us out of nowhere that he had passed away, I was just absolutely floored.
Yeah, and I know that this show is supposed to be looking at the positives, and we're going to be going through this episode, which truly was such an amazing way to pay tribute to a guy that not only was he beloved, I felt by a lot of fans, but I mean, you're talking about a guy that transcended locker rooms from multiple companies, whether you knew him as Luke Harper from WWE, whether you knew him as Brodie Lee, or whether you knew him from the Independents or Ring of Honor. I felt he's one of those guys that just nobody has a bad thing to say about the man. He's just genuine. He never really felt like he had like ulterior motives or anything when he was talking to people. He felt completely genuine and kind and just a good man, a good father. And just a couple things I want to point out too. It's like I don't want to make this be like oh man, AEW did this, but WWE did this when it came to commemorating his life. It's like, let's not focus about brand warfare right now. Like, let's truly not. Like, this is just supposed to be about Brodie Lee. It's completely about him. And we're just going to focus on, because this is an AEW podcast, we're going to focus on the Dynamite that covered the life of Brodie Lee and just like had a whole card that was built top down to commemorate his life, including a match that was a fantasy match booked by -1 Brodie Lee Jr., his son, which, I mean, really capped off the show really well. But we'll just start off, I guess, going into the show. It's going to be a little weird, but we're going to try to keep the spirits up a little bit. I mean, the show, everyone wanted it to start with a 10-bell salute, and it did, and it was very, very well done. The entire roster, including Tony Khan, was out to pay tribute. There was also Jim Ross himself said, "It's Wednesday, you know what that means," which, good on him for doing that too. I know a lot of people are also saying they want that to be the new tagline for AEW, which I could see that. I truly could.
Yeah.
It's just it's one of those statements that, like, even if people didn't know Brodie Lee, or like new fans came in, I think it would be just a decent way to open up a show. Like, everyone, like, a show normally has a normal tagline, and it's a good way to just keep the flow of the show going when it starts off. But we'll see what they end up doing with that. But the show opened up after a very, very nice tribute by Jon Moxley, cutting a bit of just a statement about how good of a person Brodie was. We started with the AEW World Tag Team Champions, the Young Bucks, teaming with Colt Cabana, Boom Boom of the Dark Order, versus Private Party, well, the Hardy Party more like, Mark Quinn, Isaiah Cassidy of the Private Party, and Matt Hardy. And, I mean, this was just, first of all, props to Colt for going out there, because I know he's had a very, very, very long history with Brodie Lee. So you saw multiple points in this match when he walked out and whatnot. He was struggling, but everybody on the card really stepped up to make this show feel really special. And it was really nice just to see the Dark Order, like, almost as like a different entity, for this specific night. And I don't know if they're going to continue down this path, because I think overall, the match was incredibly strong. It's like seeing Colt Cabana get the pin was great, and having the Acclaim try to get the heel heat on the Young Bucks afterwards, but then getting caught by SCU afterwards was really great. And again, this was what we were supposed to get this week, was the Acclaim versus the Young Bucks. So it still keeps people's mind in for what's happening next week, which I do think is a good thing. It doesn't just drop all storylines. It remembers that, like, we're still building to stuff, and, like, if we just forgot about all of our storylines, I'm sure Brodie would want you to continue doing the show, but, like, it still fulfilled the promise of a tribute show, which they were doing, but also continued the storylines that they already had set in motion. But question for Jeremy for this one, because I'm genuinely curious about this. I've talked to a couple people about this, but like where does the Dark Order go from here? And do they continue with what they did on the tribute show and then just straight up become a babyface faction?
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see where the direction of the Dark Order goes from here. I did notice a small thing that they still came out of the heel side of the tunnel, it looked like, for all their matches. So I'm wondering if maybe there'll be tweeners, but with the way that people loved and respect Brodie Lee, especially when we start getting crowds back, I don't know if they're ever going to get booed again. So it might be hard for them to be heels. So maybe we might see the switch, and maybe they switch from being, the menacing heels to the, kind of stoic badasses. And so that might be kind of a direction to switch here. But overall, I really love this match. It was an incredible emotional opener. I thought this was the best Dynamite performance of Colt Cabana. He just looked absolutely great, and I thought it was a really big deal that he finally did the Dark Order hand signal, because the whole story had been Brodie was mentoring Colt and trying to get him into the Dark Order, but he never did the symbol. He'd always like kind of wave and be goofy, but he finally does the Dark Order symbol. So I'm assuming from now he's actually going to be a full-fledged member of the Dark Order, and he just looked great here. He had 2 great moonsault spots, and they built the match to get the hot tag for him. And towards the end there, he hit the Chicago skyline, and then they did the Indy Taker. He did the Superman pin to get the win for the team. And like you mentioned, they could have easily not have tried to continue with storylines or try to set things up, but they did it so well here that this match made sense. And then the post match, you have the Acclaim coming out here, obviously not done with the Young Bucks, and then you had SCU coming out, and that sets up the 8-man tag for New Year's Smash. So great emotional match, great tribute to Brodie, and also continuing to advance storylines for what's coming up with the Bucks, SCU, and the Acclaimed and TH2, and also you advance the storyline with Hardy Party, with Matt Hardy trying to get Private Party to use a chair to get the advantage, which costs them the match here. And so we're continuing to see the rift between Private Party and Matt Hardy.
Yeah, and again, like I truly think that's because it doesn't just you're doing like you're doing 2 things at once, and you're really like fulfilling the promise of like commemorating Brodie, but also like he would probably be the kind of guy who would be like, don't just focus on me. You still got a show you got to do it next week and the week after that and the week after that. You want to make sure everyone still wants to tune in next week. So I think that was a really strong move on their part. And they did it well. They did it really well and respectfully. And then going in after this, because more people would share their thoughts on Brodie Lee in backstage segments and whatnot, including Eddie Kingston, including the amazing video package they played at the end of the show, which we'll talk about. But going into the next match, we had Eddie Kingston, Butcher and the Blade, with the Bunny at ringside, facing off against the Murderhawk Monster, Lance Archer, and Evil and Uno and Stu Grayson of the Dark Order, which was a really interesting tag team to begin with because I still love this kind of Lance Archer persona that they're going with, where it's like he really doesn't care what side he's fighting for, but just whatever side he's fighting against is going to get demolished. I really like this kind of like middle ground like monster that they've really painted him as, and I think it works really well. And this one was also really solid. I did really enjoy seeing, because Evil Uno and Stu Grayson I still think work really well, and I wish that with the Dark Order we got to see them together more, because we don't really see them too often. A lot of times we'll see other members of the Dark Order get thrown in and whatnot, like John Silver, Alex Reynolds, which is not a bad thing. But, I mean, Dark Order originally started with those 2. They've worked really well together. Obviously, if you know the Super Smash Bros. On the Independents, you know these guys work crazy good together. And I think that it's nice to see them back together for this night, and I hope that they continue to wrestle together. Again, strong match. The prevailing theme in this night was that every single member of the Dark Order would get a victory, which, I mean, it just fits. It really does just fit. And Eddie Kingston also, like, his thing, his segment he had backstage where he talked about Brodie, and also he talked about his kids and how your father's never gone if you don't forget him. If you don't forget how amazing your father was, then he's never truly gone. Like, Eddie really tugged at my heartstrings with that one. Like, because you can tell the guy is so caring for the people around him, and really spoke to the kind of person that Brodie was, and like just that one thing he said to Brodie Lee Jr., like just in that backstage segment, was truly amazing. But sorry about that.
Sorry.
You want anything you want to say on this match in particular, Jeremy?
Yeah, so again, this was another great hard-fought match here. Eddie Kingston, before the match, he got on the mic and he said, "Brodie, I love you, I miss you." Now that Nexus was out of the way, he said the Dark Order is nothing without Lee. So, still kind of keeping in character there going into the match. And getting some heat there. You had Lance Archer wearing the classic Brodie Lee / Luke Harper gear with the old, dirty looking tank top and the blue jeans. I thought that was a great tribute there. And then it was just a great back and forth match, a really hard hitting match. It had a lot of big kind of bruisers in this match. And I thought they all worked well together. I agree with you. I'm a big fan of Uno and Grayson. I think they're a great team. And I thought this was one of Uno's, in particular, kind of a shining moment for him.
Yeah.
I love that they did a callback to an indie spot where Brodie or somebody's getting their shoes tied by the referee, and Brodie big boots them. At the
Yeah,
where Kingston's getting his shoes checked by Remsburg, and then Uno hits the big boot. Just a lot of great spots like that here. Archer looked great as well. And then they hit the fatality on the blade to get the win there. And then they had the post-match where Kingston got beat up by all of them, and Jake Roberts hit a Rainmaker on Kingston.
He did, yeah. It was really nice to see. It was really nice to see Jake get a little bit of action there.
Yeah, he's fired up.
He really was. Going into this next match, besides the main event, was probably one of my favorite points in the show, which was when you had Inner Circle members MJF and Santana and Ortiz. Which before the show, Santana and Ortiz had brought something that they wanted MJF to wear during the match, and it was a headband and a Puerto Rican gear, like tights for MJF that has his name on the back, which I thought was really nice. It was a really funny moment. And then they will be facing off against Hangman Adam Page, John Silver, and Alex Reynolds. I mean, they said it was a one-time thing before, but this was a really good thing to have them come back and tag, because they did so well the first time. So it was really nice to see these guys teaming yet again, which John Silver as well had gear made for him by, like, Brodie Lee had gear that he had in mind for John to wear at one point when he was it was completely exactly the same as Brodie Lee's or Mr. Brodie Lee's.
I think
he wore it out there.
I think it was going to be for a future BTE.
Yeah. And yeah, seeing him wear that, I smiled, and it was really nice to see. Match was really strong, and then because they were cutting to him a lot during the show at the ringside with the baby faces and members of the Dark Order that were not wrestling was Brodie Lee Jr., aka -1. At one point, MJF comes out and proceeds to just start going after -1 and just starts really healing it up. But then Brodie Lee Jr. gets a kendo stick and just nails it right to the head of MJF, which was absolutely amazing. And if you've seen videos on Twitter too, he's been hitting people all over the place with that kendo stick, just beating the hell out of wrestlers backstage, which is truly funny. There's also been a video of him coming out with him hitting the spinning clothesline on Adam Cole and getting the pin on him, which was so great. We also saw Eric Redbeard come out and help out the baby faces and proceed to stop Wardlow from getting involved in the match. Seeing him was really great. It really was. And then after the match was over, when the Dark Order and Hangman got the win, he had a sign that said, "Goodbye for now, my brother. See you down the road." And that right there really broke me, because I was one of the people who got exposed to Brodie Lee, Luke Harper, when he was Luke Harper and when he was a member of the Wyatt family. And it brought me back to Bray Wyatt's unbelievable post he made on Instagram about Brodie, and just the whole experience of just seeing him go from Wyatt family to small singles run to Bludgeon Brothers to AEW to just that was one of the points where I felt just the most pain in my heart, and it was a really great tribute by Eric and it was just really great to see him too. I genuinely didn't even think we were going to see him, but it was really, really great to see him. But yeah. Jeremy, anything you want to add to this match specifically?
Yeah, that was a great surprise and a great touch to bring in Eric Redbeard, formerly Eric Rowan, Brodie's longtime tag partner. I think majority of fans probably know Brodie from his work as Luke Harper, and that team with Rowan. They always seem to kind of find their way back together. They first were there in the Wyatt family, then they were the Bludgeon Brothers, and there was just several times where they kind of broke up, but eventually came back together. So it's a long historic career. Started off teaming in NXT, so just a long, great history there. So that was, probably one of the best run-ins I've ever seen in wrestling, and just to have him out there. Jericho was losing his mind and calling him, Eric Rowan, and Excalibur was trying to correct him and say Redbeard, because they're not supposed to say Eric Rowan on air instead of
yeah.
But that all worked out. I love the BTE callback at the beginning of the match. They had the roll of papers.
Yes, I was about to say I forgot that too.
Yeah, tucked in the jackets and did that spot. Since also, if you watch Being the Elite, that was Brodie Lee's big thing. He would get the roll of papers and hit the Dark Order members with it. So that was a great comeback, a great callback there. Like you mentioned, Brodie Jr. Played a great part in this match as well. Being antagonized by MJF throughout the match. At one point, MJF gave him the middle finger, which was pretty crazy. Then MJF pulled the mask off, and I thought Brodie Jr. did a great job of selling that with his mask being pulled off. He was covering his face like a traditional luchador would, and then he gets the kendo stick and just whack, hits MJF right in the head with it. So that was just a great spot. Yeah, this match was just awesome. You had the BTE callbacks. You had Rowan. You had Brodie Lee Jr. getting involved. And then you have Silver in the Brodie Lee gear, winning the match with the spinning lariat, which was Brodie's finisher. And then the touching tribute from Redbeard with the sign, "Goodbye for now, my brother, see you down the road." Like, this match was like just perfect. Like, this was just the perfect emotional tribute, everything you could possibly want. Like, this for me was like one of the key highlights of the show. Just everything was so well done here. Yeah,
absolutely. And the other thing we should also mention too is that because we saw Brodie Lee Jr. get involved in this match, was that the fact that he actually it's been confirmed that he signed with AEW, and when he's of age and when he's able to work, he will be coming to the roster. I mean, like, he technically is already a part of the roster, which to me is just adamant of, like, not only Tony Khan, but like just the entire, like, Cody, the Bucks, and like AEW. They really want to make sure that their family, his family, is okay. It's just because that his family was one of Brodie's biggest focuses and biggest, like, just concerns in general. So to see AEW really step in and really do everything in their power to make sure that they help his family and his kids, truly, to me, like, and just seeing the interactions that other wrestlers have with Brodie Lee Jr. and trying to make him smile and have fun with them and whatnot, it's like, that's truly what I think is the best thing right now, is out of this awful situation, is that they're really working to take care of all of them.
Yeah. Also, I just want to give, before we move on, a quick shout out to Alan, number 5 Angels. He was there with Brodie Lee Jr. for the whole show.
Yeah.
I'm sure he would have loved to compete, but he had a very important role of kind of being there for Brodie Lee Jr. throughout the show. So shout out to 5, and he did a great job there supporting -1 throughout the show.
Absolutely, we can't forget Alan. That was huge with him. It really was. After this was Anna Jay, 99 of the Dark Order, teaming with her friend Tay Conti to face off against Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, and Penelope Ford. And this match also was relatively strong. I think it was really nice to see Anna Jay and Tay Conti again, because I know there were still storylines going into 2021 of whether or not Anna Jay was going to get Tay Conti to be in the Dark Order with her, to get her friend to join with her, and they're still kind of keeping these two attached to see if anything more comes out of it. And then afterwards, there was a point where there was an interview with Tony Schiavone, Dr. Britt Baker had, where she talks about how this match was rigged. It's completely rigged. The whole thing was one big rig, and then gives a little wink as Brodie Lee's nickname on the Independents, and also Cody gave him the nickname of Big Rig, which was really nice. And then after that, Thunder Rosa came out and got into a brawl with Britt Baker, and once again continuing their feud that they've been having. These two have been going back and forth over the last few weeks, and they're supposed to be building to another match. So still continuing to build storylines, and good thing too for the women's division, because I think it's really important to make sure that you.
Welcome to Virtual Meditation with Shiloh.
Hello?
Today we're working on forgiving ourselves for not knowing the difference between upload and download speeds before getting cable internet.
That's oddly specific.
Repeat after me. I am not my cable internet.
Wait, I don't have cable.
I'm not a bad if my video calls, more like video stalls.
Hey Shiloh, there's something...
I will get AT&T fiber.
And I will switch classes until you do.
Slow upload speeds? You're not a bad person. You just need better internet. With 20 times faster upload speeds, AT&T Fiber delivers a faster internet experience than cable. Get AT&T Fiber with no annual contract. Limited availability in select areas. Call 1-877-ONLY-ATT. Check eligibility at att.com/getfiber based on combined internet 1000 wired up and download capacity versus major cable providers 1 gig service with uploads of 35 megabits per second. Speeds vary, not guaranteed. Restrictions apply.
Keep your women's division fortified with storylines and whatnot. So I think this was really, really strong.
Yeah, it's another good matchup here. Like you mentioned, yeah, great tie-in there to have the whole angle with Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa after the match, and just continuing the Anna Jay and Ty Conti storyline going. Anna Jay very emotional in this match. Definitely had a hard time, keeping it together, but she did her best and got through this matchup here. Gets the win for her team with the Queen Slayer choke. I thought all four ladies looked very good in this matchup here, and yeah, I'm excited to see the eventual Britt Baker Thunder Rosa matchup.
And then we'll get to the main event. I know we're getting through the show pretty quickly. It's just because of the fact that the show really was exactly what it was. It was just a tribute show, and there's not a ton that we can necessarily add. But I do want to especially talk about this match, which was the Brodie Lee Jr. Dream Match. This team of babyfaces was handpicked by -1 Brodie Lee Jr. to face Team Taz, and the team consisted of the American Nightmare Cody Rhodes, with Arn Anderson by his side, Freshly Squeezed Orange Cassidy, and Dark Order's 10, and they would be facing off against Brian Cage, Absolute Ricky Starks, and Powerhouse Hobbs, Team Taz. And really, really good main event. I especially loved how much 10 got to shine. It was really, because they've given him a lot of singles opportunities to face guys like Dustin Rhodes and whatnot, and it was really nice to see him again compete, because he really wrestled one of his best performances, I feel like. Of course, Team Taz still looks really, really good. Cody is great as he always is, and I really appreciated Freshly Squeezed coming out to -1 and giving him the nice little relaxed fist bump to him. It was really nice to see that. And it was also great because 10 got the spinebuster on Ricky Starks and was able to get the pin. So it was huge for him to get the pinfall. I will also mention, too, because we didn't mention it at the top of the episode, that Chris Jericho was on commentary for the entire show, which I felt like was good. I really do. I think he gave a lot of great just speaking moments about Brodie Lee, but still kept his heel persona as best he could during this show. But yeah, it ended up just being a really great main event. But then eventually, after the match, Team Taz jumped once again into the ring, started beating up the team that -1 created. Darby Allin appears all of a sudden with his skateboard as the lights go dark, and he comes out, and then the lights go dark again, and then snow starts falling, and Sting appears side by side with Darby Allin, and then they walk to the ring and join Cody, OC, and 10, and then Team Taz runs away. And then after this moment was when they went to commercial break, and then we got to the final tribute. But real quick before we get to that, is there anything you want to say about this match, Jeremy?
Yeah, like you mentioned, this was a great main event, great way to cap off the show. One subtle thing that I loved here is with the team of Vance, Cody, and Cassidy. It's like, yes, even though it's a one night only, and it's a kind of a dream match and a thing for Brodie Lee Jr., like all three of these characters usually don't interact, or you had like Dark Order feuding with the Nightmare family, so these guys aren't all like the best of friends, and so there was a little bit of miscommunication or them not really working fully as a team towards the beginning of the matchup, which I love that taste. It's like these are three characters that that never teamed together before, so they shouldn't be working well together at first. And so took them a while to kind of get their act together, and then towards the end of the match they were kind of a well-oiled unit and were able to take out Team Taz. And so again, just a ton of tributes throughout the match, people doing a lot of Brodie's signature moves and the Brodie bomb and all that stuff. So just a really great back and forth matchup here. Really enjoyed this match. Then we got the involvement of Taz's son Hook. Seems like everybody loves Hook and wants to see more of him in action. And so yeah, definitely just seems like the perfect kind of like goon right now for Team Taz. And so he got involved. He gave a nice little belly-to-belly suplex to Orange Cassidy there. And then, like you mentioned, we had Darby Allin and Sting coming out, which I'm loving their combination and this kind of mentorship that we're getting of Sting and Darby Allin. And we know that Sting has been, sticking his nose in Team Taz's business and Cody's business since his debut. So once again, like we mentioned earlier, tie in the storylines. We didn't forget all of that. And so building there, Ricky Starks, I also want to give him a shout. This guy, he's incredible. I love the way that he was selling the snow that was falling on him. He looked so disgusted with the snow falling on him and like running and retreating. And so, I thought this was a great just main event segment here, and just the perfect way to end it off with Sting and Allin coming out, evening the odds, evening the numbers up. And so clearly that's building up. We have the Darby Brian Cage match coming up, and then just continuing this rivalry of Sting and Allin against Team Taz.
Yeah, and I especially love that still, like, we're keeping what exactly Sting's motivations are, for the most part, relatively vague. Because I feel like it's gotten to the point with, like, a lot of people who like Sting, like, just want to see what he'll do. They don't necessarily care what it is. They just want to see it, but they're really continuing to tease it. And I think we're getting closer and closer to the point where we're going to see exactly what Sting does in AEW. And I do agree the build that they're pushing up for it is really strong. The show then finished off. Oh, go ahead. You were going to say? I
was going to say, we also had Bryce Remsburg was the referee for this final matchup, which I thought was a touch, because obviously him and Brodie go way back to a lot of their time in Chikara and time on the Independent, and we saw like an emotional video from him earlier on in the night. So I thought it was great that they chose Bryce to be the ref for this matchup.
Absolutely. But after this was the final tribute. Cody was in the ring by himself as the crowd was chanting Brodie. He talked about how Brodie was a beautiful, kind man and a genuine human being. They introduced Brodie Lee Jr. As he came down to the ring with his mom. Tony Khan followed them out, and Brodie Lee Jr. placed his father's boots. He put Brodie's boots in the middle of the ring, and Cody laid a little purple bandana over top of them. And then Tony Khan presented Brodie Lee Jr. with the TNT Championship and called him the greatest. Brodie Lee was the greatest TNT champion, and now Brodie Lee Jr. was the TNT champion for life.
Yeah, that was a great, touching moment there. Brodie was so happy about winning that TNT title and just that whole moment with Cody. And I know on the Unrestricted podcast, he just talked about how much Brodie Jr. loved having the belt at home. So great that they gave the belt. I'm hearing that they're retiring this model, the TNT Championship. So Brodie Jr. will keep. This is the actual TNT title, the original model that Brodie Lee Jr. will be keeping, and then they will be making a new design for Darby Allin.
Yeah, and I believe it's been the rumor that's been going around, but I believe it's got a lot of traction that's going to be the case. I also love, because if you mentioning that Unrestricted podcast with Brodie too, the best part about that episode was when Brodie talked about how after the dog collar match, his son, he's seen him beat up before and he's seen him hurt before, but it's like he wasn't being like, "Oh my God, you lost," or "Oh my God, you're hurt," or "You're bloody." His first response was, "You lost the title."
Yeah.
I thought that was incredible. And now that he has it for life, I think is like the absolute best. And the video package they played afterwards was truly touching. Tony Khan even bought the music rights for that tribute package, which I think just shows how much he really cares about making sure it's preserved and like people people don't get like copyright claimed or anything for the music or whatnot, or for showcasing it. And yeah, it was just a really fitting end to an episode that was just, it came out of a horrible situation, but it brought light to the goodness that was Brodie Lee and how John Hubert was as a human being. So I think it was really well done on AEW's part. Like, it was just the best way they could have tributed the man at all, like, genuinely.
Yeah, just an incredible show from top to bottom. You know, Brodie Lee loved pro wrestling so much. I think that's one of the heartbreaking things about it. Like, he was just kind of breaking out and getting his moment, and he's loved wrestling so much. And so what better way to honor him than to put together a great professional wrestling show? And this is what this was from top to bottom. All the guys and girls came out there, gave it their all. All the matches are great tributes to Brodie. All the emotional video packages in between from the wrestlers was great. And then you mentioned the final celebration tribute video was great as well. And a classy move by Tony Khan to just straight out buy the full rights to that song they use. So in the future, if they ever have a AEW network or if they go to some streaming platform, they will always have the rights to that song and will be able to play it no matter what platform that video is shown on. And so just a great way to cap off this emotional night. And yeah, AEW just did a wonderful job celebrating the life of John Hubert, Brodie Lee.
Absolutely. And overall, that'll wrap up the show. I want to talk about one thing in particular, but you were going to say real quick.
I said, do you just want to run down real quick the matches coming up for New Year's Smash Night 1 and 2?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can go ahead and run those off right now if you have them with you.
Yeah, I do. So like we mentioned, New Year's Smash Night 1 was originally supposed to be this week, so it got postponed to this coming up Wednesday. So we will still have the AEW World Championship match with Kenny Omega defending against Rey Fenix. We have Hikaru Shida defending the AEW Women's Championship against Abaddon. We have Jake Hager versus Wardlow, big Hoss battle there. We have the Young Bucks and SCU versus the Acclaimed and TH2. We have Cody Rhodes versus Matt Sydal. Jon Moxley will be returning, and Snoop Dogg and Chris Jericho will both be on commentary for that. Then the following week, there will be Night 2, which will be the TNT title match. Darby Allin defending against Brian Cage. It'll be Britt Baker versus Thunder Rosa. FTR versus Jurassic Express. And then Miro versus Chuck Taylor.
I'm still really looking forward to that card, especially the main event of Kenny versus Phoenix for the AEW title. I mean, like, I've been so hyped to see how that match turns out, and I think it'll be one of the matches that people turn to see, like, Kenny Omega in his true, like, 5-star classic, Dave Meltzer baby, just absolute best wrestler alive style. It's just, people are going to be salivating over this match in general. The whole card looks so good, and I'm really excited to see how it goes. I'm interested to see what, because I know they are having Snoop Dogg on there. I'm interested to see if it's anything more than just plugging the talent show that him and Cody Rhodes are judging.
Yeah, the Go Big Show.
Yeah, exactly. I'm interested if they have him do a little bit more. I would like to see him do a little bit more, since his involvement with wrestling isn't just limited to this. He's been involved with wrestling a lot, so I would like to see if they do anything extra with him. But
yeah. The one that kind of intrigues me is the Cody and Matt Sydal match, just because, like,
yeah,
it's kind of out of nowhere, and I feel like it's setting something up. So I know on this past week on Dark, Sydal, he was on Britt Baker's talking show, the Waiting Room, and he had a win on Dark as well. So I'm wondering if it's something where Sydal turns heel on Cody in this match, or something kind of comes out of this matchup with Cody and Matt storyline wise.
That's the thing I would think that would come out of it, especially just because Matt Sydal, like, I really like Matt Sydal, but his babyface character is kind of stale. I think seeing what he does as a heel would be a lot more interesting. So I think, I mean, he's such a great worker, he's such a great wrestler, and I think he's shown himself to be a true lasting character. But, like, as a babyface, there's not much to him that you can't find anywhere else on the roster. So I think finding a little bit more originality in a heel character would be the best option for him. So I think I would be interested to see that route over just this being a one-time thing.
Yeah, he did vent some frustration in that promo on Dark, where he was saying he hopes that Cody's just not using this match to promote the Go Big Show. So it looks like he's there's some frustration there on Seidel's part. So, yeah, it could lead to something. Yeah, Hager and Wardlow should be a fun matchup as well.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, just you get to see these two who have been going back and forth. Like, especially, I love their interaction in the little powwow the Inner Circle had, or the ultimatum that was made, where there's like, he's staring at me. No, you're staring at me.
Yeah.
Just the little interaction there, just was like, just let these two just collide. Like, just let it happen.
Yeah, so that should be fun. Like you mentioned, yeah, Kenny and Phoenix should absolutely kill it. Seen these guys wrestle before. It's always great, and especially now, Kenny's the world champion. I'm sure he's going to want, like you mentioned, that world champion Dave Meltzer style performance, and so this should be absolutely incredible.
Oh, yeah, totally. And we're going to wrap up the show real quick. I want to mention two things. One, amazingly, Brodie Lee's tribute shirt that went up on Pro Wrestling Tees for this episode of Dynamite. He surpassed Orange Cassidy with the most t-shirt sales, and it was the most sold shirts in under 24 hours for a wrestler, which, I mean, was just truly amazing. And one more personal thing I want to say, and I'm not going to give this too much time just because I don't want to, again, we really focus on the positives on the show, but this is just one thing that really meant a lot to me that I talk about a little bit, just because I want, my whole goal for my career is to be a pro wrestling commentator, I went to school for broadcasting and journalism. I want to cover pro wrestling and whatnot. That's what I do in this podcast. That's what I've done on my previous shows. And I won't mention this person by name, but if you've seen what's been going around a couple days ago, John Hubert's wife shared on Instagram on her story a specific instance of a certain journalist in the pro wrestling world who was trying to insinuate that the family was hiding something and that there was something untrue in what happened, and was really pushing and trying to make a story out of a terrible situation. And again, not going to mention the guy's name. He doesn't deserve the name, and he also doesn't deserve to work in this industry. I've wanted to work as a pro wrestling commentator, work in the pro wrestling industry as a journalist and whatnot my entire life. And to see somebody like this completely just step on the toes of this family who's been through the worst experience they could possibly go through is the most disgusting thing I've ever seen in the world of pro wrestling journalism. And this person should be 100% ashamed of their actions. And it's just truly despicable to see you try to create a headline or try to create some sort of narrative that the family is hiding something over the death of their husband, over the death of their father, over the death of one of the most genuine men in pro wrestling. And you want to insinuate that something is, whether it was COVID or whether it was non-COVID, it doesn't matter. He's gone and this family is grieving. So step off. Your job as a journalist, your job as a broadcaster is to present a story, but you're not, when you're covering something like pro wrestling, there's still a level of respect that you have to share for the entertainer, because you're the one that's trying to get a story from them. So again, hopefully this person just falls away into obscurity. It was just the most despicable thing. And as somebody who wants to get into this business in that field, I just felt like I need to say something on it. And it's the last I'll say on it. I will not say any more on it. We're just going to close the show off of a positive thing. I want to let this show end positively. So I just want to real quickly go to Jeremy, because I want to share our favorite moments of John Hubert, Luke Harper, Brodie Lee that you have personally. So Jeremy, I'm putting you on the spot a little bit, but if you have your favorite moment that you would like to share of this man, I would love to hear it genuinely.
Yeah, so one moment that stands out for me personally is the WWE Battleground 2014 pay-per-view. So it was here in Tampa, Florida, and I went to that pay-per-view. It was him and Rowan against the Usos in a 2 out of 3 falls for the tag titles. That is one of my favorite matches that I got to see Brodie Lee live in, and that was just a great match, a great opener on that pay-per-view. I rewatched it on the network this past weekend. I still think it holds up, and it's just a really fun match, and you really just see Brodie Lee really shine in that matchup. And then another thing that I will always love is Brodie Lee's squash victory over Cody Rhodes for the TNT title. It was just a great and unexpected moment, and I'll just never forget the buzz that came from that, and just how Twitter was reacting, and everybody in the group chats that I'm in, just how happy we were for Brodie, and just what a great, like, it's Cody. You don't expect Cody you expect like a back and forth, 20-minute match, and just in a few minutes, Brodie went out there and kind of mopped the floor with him. And so it was just kind of a great, unexpected moment for Dynamite. I think something that all wrestling fans will always remember.
Yeah. For me personally, what I saw of Brodie Lee or Luke Harper live, the one time I saw him live was WrestleMania 34 in New Orleans, where he and the New Day and the Usos had the unfortunate job of following the mixed tag match between Kurt Angle and Ronda Rousey versus Triple H and Stephanie McMahon, and they had to follow that. I felt like, oh my God, these guys just got boned, and I felt awful for the whole situation. Another thing I saw was when the New Day had the Wyatt compound fight on Raw against the Wyatt family, so I got to see that happen, which was definitely a lot more fun than what happened at Mania, because at Mania they were only given 5 minutes, which was a real shame. But my favorite moment, honestly, was it's a weird one, because there's a genuine interaction of Jimmy Uso and Brodie and Luke Harper when they were playing Madden on Up Up Down Down. Like, that was the one moment where I felt like I got to see John Hubert, because we as fans didn't really get to see that a ton. But seeing him just interact with Jimmy while playing Madden and just cracking jokes and just freaking out over hitting the wrong button or whatnot, and just having a little fun back and forths with Jimmy was where I really was like, oh wait, like what I'm seeing on TV, this guy's way, because I was always confused as to why, when I was a fan and I first started watching the Wyatt family, of like the image of all the wrestlers wearing the yeah shirts with Brodie's face on it. I was like, is he really that much of a figure in the locker room? And then I see the way he acts on Up Up Down Down, and I'm like, oh yeah, this makes complete and total sense. This dude just seems like the chillest, most cool dude that you could possibly meet. And I'm ashamed I never got the chance to meet him. But I do think if you go back and watch that video, I think you'll really have a good smile on your face, because it's so funny.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, oh dude, it's so funny. But that'll fully wrap up the episode. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. And thank you so much to Jeremy for filling in on such short notice. Jeremy, if you could please plug your Twitter social so people know where they can find you.
Yeah, you guys can follow me on Twitter at Jeremy L. Donovan. I'm co-host of Keeping It Strong Style here on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. You can follow us at KI Strong Style. Check out we just had our Wrestle Kingdom preview and prediction show drop this week, getting ready for Wrestle Kingdom. And so, yeah, check us out.
Oh, man, I'm so pumped for Wrestle Kingdom, but I know I'm not going to be able to stay awake for it. There's no way it's going to happen. There's just no way. If you want to follow myself on Twitter, I am at SZoomer4. And remember to follow the podcast itself at AT Elite Pod. All of us at Social Suplex are at Social Suplex. And also, Floyd's not here, but follow him as well. He's at Floyd Johnson Jr. on Twitter. Again, we really appreciate it if you download the show on Google or Apple Podcasts, or if you leave a rating or review, let us know what we can do better. And we have our podcast provider, Red Circle, if you want to leave a donation. But honestly, just if you can and you want to support a wrestler, 100% grab that Brodie Lee t-shirt, support the family. Even wrestlers like CM Punk are donating 1 month of funds that they get through the t-shirt sales on Pro Wrestling Tees. They're donating all of it. He specifically is donating all of his funds to Brodie Lee's family, which is truly amazing. I think a couple of the wrestlers are doing the same for a couple.
Mick Foley's doing the same.
Mick Foley is doing it, yeah, which also he just got COVID. I really hope for his health and safety. Really hope he's going to be doing okay. So well wishes to Mick. But yeah, if you ever wanted to support Brodie Lee's family, that t-shirt is the easiest way to do so. So 100% I would recommend, if you have the ability to, definitely grab that. And Floyd's not here to take us home, so I guess I'll just do it. First of all, the All Things Elite End of the Year Awards is going to be coming. You'll just need to hold off. We put it off a little bit more for this specific episode, and we want to thank Brodie Lee just for everything he's done in AEW and WWE and the independents, everything. And our well wishes goes to the Hubert family. We just know that not only is AEW showing their support and other wrestlers are showing their support, the fans truly want nothing but the best for you in this truly tough time. And I really hope that you get to see the wrestling community come together to show their support for this family, which I think they truly have. Nothing else we can really say, but rest in peace, John Hubert. Rest in peace, Luke Harper. Rest in peace, Brodie Lee. We will genuinely miss you. Thank you guys so much. Whether it's home, school, or work, always do your best to be elite.
We'll get back to your music shortly, but first, did you know that prescription prices are different at different pharmacies? You could literally drive across the street and get a different price. That's crazy. But with GoodRx, you can instantly compare prices at every pharmacy in your neighborhood and save up to 80%. You're probably thinking there's a catch, right? Nope. It's 100% free and can save you money whether you have insurance or not. In fact, it can often beat your copay. Download the GoodRx app today and start saving. GoodRx is not insurance.